Welcome to the Heroic Voice. I am here today. It is Sunday, November 23rd, 2025, with Phil Yeh, old friend of mine. Haven't seen him since a couple of weeks ago. So uh, it's creator of Patrick Rabbit and Frank the Unicorn and Uncle Jam.
Yeah.
And Phil, what are you up to these days? This is the Heroic Voice, where I talk to comic book creators and other interesting people on a variety of subjects. I am Dennis Maloney, publisher of the Heroic Multiverse, where we feature good girl and bad girl artwork, super babes, and all kinds of Silver Agey style stories.
Well, I'm still working on different books, and I'm working on a new book for my grandkids. My little, my smallest grandchildren are 4, 5, and 6. So I'm writing a book that hopefully they can read, and it's a very different style. So I'm enjoying it.
By different style, you mean what?
Well, I'm watercoloring these days, and I can't really describe it. Yeah, how do I describe it? It's like each page is it's very hard to describe. It's like a watercolor. Do we have a sample? Oh, thought my wave was here. Oh, well, anyway, it's watercolor with pen and ink on top.
Oh,
So,
she's going to look.
yeah. It's up.
Watercolor. So basically, watercolor with some delineation on top of it.
Yeah, I'll try to get a sample. Should have had a sample. Linda? Oh,
We
you
could talk about other things. Like other
okay.
topics.
Hi,
All
Linda.
right.
Hi.
Got it out of order. All
That's
right.
okay. Let's just show people what you're doing here.
Well, here's the cover
Ah,
and
the the
winged
winged
tiger.
tiger.
Yeah. And then so this is what I'm doing. Each
Ooh,
page is very this is out of order, but
that's fine.
anyway, yeah. So
So it's a fantasy story.
yeah, it's a fantasy story, and so some of the pages get rather complicated.
Hmm.
So it's unique.
Yeah,
It'll
I'd say
be
so.
yeah, it'll be published as a hardcover book,
Hmm. How many
48 pages.
how many pages?
48,
48. Okay.
yeah, or maybe more.
Maybe more. Right. If you get ambitious.
Yeah.
So what's clearly it's kids going into some fantasy world. I saw that they learn that they can fly there.
Yeah, it starts off in the I'll, we got these pages out of order, but let's see if I can know. Gonna see some of the earlier pages. Okay, it starts off with I'm talking about the fall.
Hmm.
And then from there, so I start off by, very normally, and then I go into I so one day I saw the winged tiger,
Aha.
and then and also I saw these kids. Basically, what happens is these kids are in the woods, but the kids have masks on. So one of them has Frank the Unicorn mask. One of them wears a winged tiger mask. And it's revealed at the end of the story that the kids are my grandkids, my youngest grandchildren. We
Oh,
have 11 grandchildren, a lot
that's
of grandchildren.
yeah.
The oldest is in college. He just started at Pepperdine,
Uh-huh.
which is great. So he's 18, and then we go down to four. So
It's a lot of grandkids. Yeah.
a lot of grandkids
Oh my
there.
goodness. So the story was, if I understand correctly, basically designed as a treat, an escapade, a romp for the youngest ones.
Yeah, it's so it's designed that when they're learning to read, they just have one page to read,
Hmm.
and I'm trying to make the lettering pretty big, pretty legible,
Oh, I see.
and then they just read one page, and then they go on their next page, and hopefully the detail will inspire them. Uh, one of my oldest of my youngest grandchildren is 6, and she announced recently that she wants to be a painter. So that makes me very happy.
Ah, very nice. Alrighty. You mentioned Frank the Unicorn, and so did I. Let's go back a bit. Um, Tell us how that character began. What was the genesis of Frank the Unicorn?
Well, it began because my late wife, Janet Valentine, she was drawing realistic unicorns, really nice illustrations, you know, very much in the 70s. And, I have a weird sense of humor or something. So one day I just sat down and I drew Frank, but and I don't like golf, but I just decided that I make this unicorn with a, a windbreaker. He had pants. He walks like a man, and he plays golf, which I don't like. And and I just created this character in 1979 and 1980. I wrote my first Frank the Unicorn book, and it was a satire in a way, but I don't know. It just it had a life of its own, and so Frank became a character that I did for a number of books, and then um, Rick Veitch told me during the black and white comic book boom, he called me up from Vermont and he said, "You got to do a comic book." And I said, "Why?" And he explained to me that the distributors in the comic book business at the time were buying anything.
Anything,
And
yes. Hmm.
I thought, that's ridiculous. But Rick just kept insisting that I should do a comic book. So I said, I was saying, okay, let's say I sell 100,000 of the first issue. I sell 50,000 of the second issue. Third issue, I'll sell 20,000. Fourth issue, I'll sell two. So it just doesn't make any sense. But so I created my own form of distribution because I realized the comic book industry is insane.
Yes.
So I so we got advance orders for 90,000 of the first issue, and I was laughing, but we got real orders. So Frankie Unicorn #1 sold 90,000 copies. Second issue, we got 50,000 or 75,000, whatever. And it kept going down from the comic book distributors. But I had instituted my own plan, which was to distribute my books through schools through events that I do, I would go out to schools all over the country. And so I would appear at a school at 500 students, and I would give every student a comic book, you know. So, in other words, I would keep the print runs. I think I capped it at 50,000 of each issue. But that was how, so it didn't matter to me. The comic book industry was, imploding. The black and white comic book industry was, it was really nuts. And at the time, the Ninja Turtles, that started the whole mess. And I didn't know Kevin Eastman, Peter Laird and Kevin Eastman started the Turtles, but Kevin, I guess, knew me or something. And so I met Kevin, and he actually, I was doing a painting. I was painting oil paintings, and I painted a dinosaur reading. And I told Kevin I had a book I wanted to publish 20,000 copies of full colored book. And this is when you had to print 20,000, colored books. And I went to Vermont. I had $500 to my name at the time. And Kevin said, "Okay, I'll give you the money." And I thought he published the book, but he said, "No, I don't know anything about publishing. You published the book." And so we sent him the printing bills, and it was 50,000 bucks. But that book, Read Avoid Extinction, was what the dinosaurs had as a slogan. And that slogan became very well known. We ABC television made billboards around the country, and we had T-shirts, bumper stickers, everything. And Panasonic later indicated they wanted to make the dinosaur, the book, into a CD-ROM, which I still don't know what a CD-ROM is, but they paid $1 million for the rights, and then they wanted to do another book, and I wrote another book, and they paid $1 million for that. And the weird thing is, after all this talk and meetings and everything, they didn't do they didn't release either one of these products because they had Mortal Kombat as a another property, and Mortal Kombat was violence and everything, and my stuff is not violent, so they didn't do it, but I didn't have to give the money back. So
Well, that's cool. Yeah, I know that
yeah,
experience. We've had options taken out on our characters that have never had anything done with, but they
yeah,
pass out a little money, so take it.
yeah. So that's what we did, and then we took off from there. We just started doing all kinds of books, and the dinosaurs, they had a life of their own. And it got so Levi Strauss and other big companies all wanted the dinosaurs, an image that I did of the dinosaurs reading, but the dinosaurs were wearing Levi's.
Hmm.
And all these companies wanted the same image, minor changes, and they were willing to pay a lot of money. But for me as an artist, it was so boring. So eventually I just said, I would rather do the winged tiger, my other character. So I tried to get away from the dinosaurs, but now I can see that America didn't read. America doesn't like to read, as we all know, and bookstores have, dying and everything else. And so I think it's time to redo Read Avoid Extinction.
Let's
So
revisit that. Yeah.
yeah, we need to revisit it. And we sold a lot to the libraries. In fact, the American Library Association for a time actually sold our t-shirts, and
Hmm.
we did the t-shirts in Spanish and German, French, Chinese, and all kinds of things. And they were very popular. But then the American Library Association decided, hey, why should we pay Phil to do t-shirts for us when we can make our own t-shirts?
Yeah, it makes sense.
So yeah, so but we had a good run there for a while. So
And you got a good chunk of change out of it, which is great.
we had a good chunk of change. And yeah, but I had a lot of people work for me, and anyway, so life goes on.
What about Patrick Rabbit? That's the other character that sticks in my head. We haven't talked about him.
Well, Patrick Rabbit is basically a character that I created uh, to represent the average, what I consider the average American moron. So Patrick Patrick Rabbit would rather play video games and not do anything. He's an artist, but he only draws like violence and stupid stuff. And so the running gag is with Patrick is he's always, you know, like he's in a book I did called Dinosaurs Across America, which is all the states of the Union. We're going to bring it back next year
I
for
remember
the
that. Yeah, I remember that book.
250th anniversary. And one of the things about Patrick is really great for me as a writer is that Patrick is always wrong. So Patrick, he guesses every state of the union. He guesses a capital city like California. He says, of course, it's Hollywood. Obviously, it's Hollywood. So the dinosaurs correct him in every case. And in every case, Patrick gets it wrong, which is great fun for me. And actually, it's sad to say this, but as I go to schools and talk about my work, um, a lot of the kids don't know. And I'm talking about older kids, like
Yeah,
high school. Um, and it's kind
sad.
of scary, but what can you
You're right.
do?
It's worse than sad. It is scary. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very scary. And I just use humor. I always use humor when I talk to people I meet adults and I say, oh, I've written a book about all the states, and I'll say all 32 states are in the book. And people just look at me, oh, great. So I think, okay, whatever. You just I think I've always had a weird sense of humor anyway, but as I've gotten older, I think there's no point in arguing with people. I just, what, when I said, I go all around the world. So when I went to Singapore, I was telling somebody, I went to Singapore, and the person says, oh, where is Singapore exactly? And I said, you just cross the Danube River, it's right near Budapest, and there's Singapore. And the people I'm talking to have no idea, and they never, nobody ever says, oh, really? They don't care. If you don't know, they don't care. So rather than go into a long explanation about history or
Or
my
why the
favorite,
British are to blame.
yeah, yeah, you always blame the British. I usually do because I'm Celtic. My mother is Scottish, and well, my grandfather was Welsh, my mother's side, and my father is Chinese. So
Hmm.
I have a weird background.
Well, just being Scots is itself kind of weird.
Yeah. And actually we were in Scotland this year.
Oh,
We
wow.
went to we went to
Beautiful country.
we went to Scotland. Dave Scroggy is in Scotland, and
Oh, is he?
yeah, so David David retired from Dark Horse, and his wife Rosemary is Scottish. So she said to him, "When you retire, we're moving to Scotland." And it turns out that David and Rosemary have been going back to Scotland for years on vacation. So now they live there, and so we went to see them, and then we went to England, we went to France. We saw Jean-Marc and Randy L'Officier.
How are they doing? I
They're
missed
doing
them.
good.
I'm glad
And
to hear that.
and then we went to Barcelona and then Germany. So we took our two grandsons, our the oldest who's in Pepperdine, and his cousin is senior in high school. So we took the two boys to Europe to give them a taste and hope that one of them or both of them will go live in Europe, get an apartment with two rooms. So one's a guest room, and then their grandparents will come visit. And since I have 11 grandkids, I'm hoping that my plan is to have these 11 kids live all over the world with extra room.
Have you ever been to Angoulême in France?
I was in Angoulême in 1990 or 91, whatever America was the guest country. Uh, the year I was in Angoulême was actually when Sergio Aragonis was there, and Kevin Eastman, and
Hmm.
well, we had like 400 American cartoonists there, as I recall. And I was really ill, and we went to Paris and we went to Angoulême on the train, and it was really funny because I was really ill, and Dave Scroggy actually gave me some medicine, and I was with my partner from Chicago, Jeff Bevington, and Jeff had always wanted to meet Sergio. And I was sitting next to Sergio on the train, but I was so ill, I was like leaning up, leaning on Sergio, trying to sleep. And Jeff says, "Do you think I could meet Sergio?" And I said, "Here, Sergio, Jeff." And I remember I was delusional. I was really ill, but anyway, it worked out. So yeah, so I was in Angoulême, but I wasn't really well.
You weren't paying much attention.
I wasn't paying much attention, but there was a lot of Americans. Roberta Gregory was there, and I think Donna Barr was there. Well,
I was invited to go there one year by what was his name? Somebody who worked on the Marvel magazine books. He was the editor for a year or so. And
oh,
do you remember his name? He invited me to go there, and I went there one year. So
yeah.
uh,
Remembering names from the past is,
yeah, it's difficult for me. I've always had trouble with names. Yeah.
yeah. Well, especially now because I don't see a lot of people, and you know, it's you don't see somebody 30, 40 years, and then all of a sudden, they're back in your head, and you're like, wow. And when I see them, if I haven't seen them in a long time, and they start talking about something, what happened, we were doing something in, France or somewhere. And then I say, really? I was like, wow, I don't even remember, being in the country with a person. So
You always remember people as they were, right? When you
yeah,
first met them, right? It takes a moment to reconcile, who they are 40 years later with who you
yeah.
remember them being.
Well, also, the other thing is when you do a lot of comic book conventions, which I used to do, you meet a fan or you meet somebody in New York, and then you see that person later in San Diego or somewhere, but it's not, your brain is not,
You're not making the connection. Yeah.
you're not connecting. It's very odd, but I realized now because I've traveled so much and did so many events that, you know, Well, you know, we rack it up to old age.
Well, the brain works on pattern recognition, right? If something
Yeah,
doesn't fit the pattern, right, you have
yeah,
real trouble, pulling up the
exactly.
information.
Yeah,
That's why
exactly.
songs or scents or anything like that will suddenly trigger memories because
Yeah,
it triggers a recognition of a pattern that you have stored somewhere in all of that, mess that's
yeah,
the human brain.
yeah,
So
exactly. So I think that that's one of the things that I'm doing in this new book is I'm just trying to keep it very simple because I know, my characters and what the story is, but the kids who are just seeing it for the first time, they don't know that they get, these characters fly or whatever. So I'm just taking it one fact per page, just one thing per page.
it's a good approach, right? Take
Yeah,
48 facts, drum it into their little heads.
yeah, that's it. That's the idea.
So let's tell people, I do this every time, social media. How can people follow what Phil Yeh is up to on social media?
Well, you can go on Facebook. My thing is Phil Yeh. Is it Phil Yeh at 54? Oh, Phil Yeh at Phil Yeh. Okay,
Just Phil Yeh.
Facebook, Phil Yeh. And that's the page that has all my work, and Linda puts up my new pages every day. And our website is wingtiger.com.
All right.
Yeah.
Phil, is there anything that you would like to offer as advice to up and coming young, aspiring artists or even comic
Well,
book people?
what I always tell everyone, be original. Please be original. It's the most important thing is not whether you draw really detailed or you draw really simple or whatever, but the secret, I think, of success is to be original. Just have something that is totally unique. And this is the thing that's so weird. There's so many movies, there's so much media, there's so many whatever right now, but there's still uh, a lot of things that are not explored,
That's
not
absolutely
covered.
true. Yeah,
Yeah. And especially I'm fond of telling artists around the world, I say, write about your character right where you are, living where you are. So, in other words, not every, what my joke is, the aliens attack the Earth, and they always attack New York or Los Angeles. And it seems like the aliens need a new place to go to. But it's so weird because, you see these movies come out over and over and over, and they're always the same plots, the same ideas. And it's just wow, it's just really so the original stuff to me really stands out. It really jumps out, and I think that's the key. We have plenty of room for originality.
I think you're right about that.
Yeah,
Phil, I have to say it's a pleasure. How long had it been since we bumped into each other a couple of weeks ago? Gosh, it's
probably 30 years, I'd say. I
my
don't
goodness.
know,
Yeah,
20, 30 years.
it has been a long time. We just haven't
Yeah.
crossed paths very much.
Yeah,
So,
well, I'm up in the mountains. I live
yeah,
up in Running Springs,
you were
so
in Lake Arrowhead a while.
oh, and now you're still in Long Beach, or?
Oh no, I'm nearby. I moved to La Palma, which is in northwest
Oh
Orange
yeah,
County.
sure, I know La Palma. Yeah, yeah. Well, I left. Well, about 20 years ago. I think
Well,
I've been married to Linda, so
that's probably been about that long since
yeah,
we touched base. So
yeah. Well, I still go to San Diego. We still have a booth, and that's about the only thing in comics that I really still Comic Fest. if they have a comic fest again,
They
I'll be
should.
there.
I
Yeah.
liked that one. I went there once. It was great. It
Yeah,
felt
I
like
think
it felt like the San Diego convention used to be, which I think
yeah,
was their point.
yeah, and everyone says it. Mike Towery, who started Comic Fest, wanted to start something that was really reminiscent of the old days. And I really think Comic Fest, for my money, is the way to go because it's about comics.
Yes.
It's not about celebrities or movie stars or video games or whatever. Um, but we don't have 150,000 people because there are no movie stars, which is good.
I should get Mike on the Heroic Voice. I think he'd be a good interview.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah. Yeah. But
all
Mike is retired, but he still, still has a lot to say.
righty. Well, Phil, it is good to see you, and I thank you for being with us. It is Sunday, so
Great.
it's not much of the weekend. I hope you have a happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Well, you too.
Alrighty,
All right.
signing off.
All right. I'll sign up as soon as I figure out how to do it.
Bye-bye.